Hey everybody, it's Alex Youngblood. If you guys are filing on, so appreciate you joining us tonight. Just give me a few minutes as we're getting some things set up. We'll wait for some people to file on as well, and we'll dive right into this. This is going to be a very informal webinar. It's not something with a bunch of slides and look at this and try to wow you and all that kind of thing. Although a lot of this information will wow you. This is going to be something more of almost like a screen share to where you're almost like looking over my shoulder. And my guest that I brought on as well, who really knows how to hack into this stuff inside and out. And it's going to be really killer. So just give us a little bit here as people file on. It's not going to be like a 2 or 3 hour webinar like some of these that you see out there. It's probably going to be 45 minutes to an hour, something along those lines. So bear with us as we get everything started here. All right, cool. Hey, Burton, am I able to see who's coming on or who's filing on? Like to see those stats? All right, let's see here. Okay, cool. I see the chat here. All right. Yep, I'm here. Okay, cool. So as you're coming in, use that chat. That way I'll be able to see that and see the participants. Okay, I see at the bottom as well. Everybody's asking about a replay already, which is pretty crazy. But all right, let's see here. Hey guys, cool. All right, so the chat is working. Hey Bryce. Hey Vincent. Hey Devon. Hey Kim. Cool. Hey Mickey. Hey Dee. Hey Calvin. Christine. Dwayne. Brian Lee. Dante. There we go. Matthew, LJ, let's see, Ray, Richard, Ashley, Ernest. Here you guys all come. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys for joining me tonight. Like I said, this is going to be absolutely amazing. People, again, are asking if this is going to be recorded so y'all can watch it later. And the answer is I think it's going to be recorded, but I'm not sure exactly how that is going to be delivered to you guys. So like I said, okay, so tonight is going to be a very informal webinar, just going to be more of a screen share type thing. And then we're going to dive down into it, okay? So we tonight are looking how to hack into cash buyers. And why did I do this webinar? The reason why is because there have been so many people in my Facebook group, and obviously you know me from wholesaling houses full time. That's how everybody knows me, right? The Facebook group, almost about 100,000 people, investors, wholesalers within the group, and that's where my namesake is, I guess you can say, right? But so within this group, we get all kinds of posts. We get posts from people that have questions. We have people that are flipping deals. We have people that are looking for deals. We got people that are just being funny, posting checks, motivational stuff, all that good stuff, right? But you know what? People are always posting in my group about, I need cash buyers. I need a cash buyer here. I need a cash buyer there. Where they're looking for cash buyers, and it like drives me nuts. I'm like, no, you don't need to post that, right? Because you can easily find where the cash buyers are if you know what you're doing, and it's really not that hard because it's all within the public records, right? So some people get all confused about the public records. They're like, well, I don't know how to, have remote access to my public records, and I don't want to go down, downtown and try to figure it out. Or, there's some software that I can use that'll tell me where the cash buyers are and all this kind of stuff, right? But you can use ListSource, right? ListSource is one of the things that we can use for cash buyers, right? And in my coaching group, I actually recommend list source as one of those things. Okay. And there's a problem though with list source. Okay. There's a problem with list source because once the cash buyer no longer owns that property, it no longer shows of record. Okay. So if I sell if let's say I bought a property like 1 or 2 months ago, it's going to show on list source. However, if I sold it 3-4 months down the road and then you go to pull it, then it no longer shows. So now you no longer have my information as a cash buyer, right? Now, I will give you a little bit of a hack when it comes to list source, let's say, okay, so that you can keep cash buyer data. Make it a habit to pull list source data every month. And then that way you'll have a rolling version of it, right? But unfortunately, you can't go back and do that right now and try to go in retrospect and try to build a cash buyers list, right? It just won't work. So for you guys that are listening, okay, we are going to be going over 3 cash buyer hacks, okay? The first cash buyer hack is a general cash buyer hack, okay? We're talking about cash buyers as a whole for an area, so that way we can drill down and then analyze an area and find where the cash buyer activity is, and then find where we want to focus our efforts, right? It's kind of like the property avatar that I teach my coaching students about. If you know where the activity is inside of an area, and this is what I mean by that. If you do this properly, you will know, number one, who is buying, okay? Then you will know what they are buying, and then you'll know how much they are paying. Think about if you had that data at your fingertips. Think about if you were able to go into any market in the country and find exactly what this information is. You'd have all the information that you could possibly ever need to make educated offers. It really is that awesome. It really is that simple. Okay, so that is the first type of hack that we're going to go over. The overall picture of cash buyers. Number 2, we're going to talk about cash buyers that have recently bought a property. Like this would be more of a list source type of thing. And these people recently bought a property. And when they bought the property, it shows up as just a regular, transaction. They bought it for 50 or 60,000 or whatever it is. It's easy to go in and hone in on that. And these are really good for making offers over the phone. Okay. So we're talking like virtual wholesaling, or just talking to somebody over the phone in your local market and making a virtual offer. Okay. You can do this if you have the appropriate cash buyer data at your fingertips. And here's the key with that. It has to be quick, okay? Because we're going to go in and we're going to look at the cash buyer data, and we're going to look at 1, 2, 3. We're going to look at like 3 different properties, let's say, and we're looking for the lower cash buyer data that's sold. And then by going in, we can easily make an offer, or like I've talked about before, we can price anchor, meaning we can go in and we can say, oh, this property sold for 60,000. You said your property needed work, right? So if this one sold for 60, how much did you want considering that yours needed work, right? By learning that simple script and learning how to do exactly that, you can make offers very quickly. Make offers without making offers is what I like to call it, and really stay in the game while everybody else is like scratching their heads trying to figure out what to offer. I mean, in my coaching program, a lot of people, I try to help them get past the point where they're like, well, I don't know what to offer. I don't know what to do. And they get stuck. And that's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do is spend the money on marketing or your effort or your time, and a motivated seller calls in and you don't know what to do because you don't know how to analyze data. You don't know how to analyze records, whatever that situation is, right? That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. So by knowing how to hack in and find those individual transactions, you can make solid offers, okay? And number 3, the third hack that we're gonna go over, and this is absolutely amazing, okay? This is like hidden cash buyers. This you cannot do with list source. You cannot do this with most other property data type things, because this enables you to go back and look at the previous transaction, okay? So basically what we're gonna be doing is on this hack, we are going to be going into a market and we are trying to figure out how to get the most money for our properties, right? And we're gonna do this by finding the most expensive sales in the area. Now, this is the really cool thing. If you look for cash buyers for these transactions, you've already lost, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look for the most recent rehabs, the most expensive properties that have sold, confirm that it was a rehab, and we can do that by looking at pictures and all this kind of stuff, right? And then once we do that, we can go in and see who the previous owner of that property was, and we have all that information at our fingertips, and we can see what they paid for that property. This is how you can get cash buyer data and the best prices for your property, for your deals, by having access to this information. So those are the 3 hacks that we are going to be going over. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other cool stuff as well. So I'm going to bring on Burton here. Burton is the man when it comes to hacking into this information and trying to figure out how to hone this information to best come into any market into the country. I mean, this guy has like all the data at his fingertips for any market in the country. And he's really, really awesome when it comes to doing that. So he is going to do a screen share for us on all these hacks that I'm talking about here. And then we are going to be able to answer some questions and things like that and talk about some more cool stuff. So Burton, are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
There he is.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining. Again, yeah, I'm with Propstream. We've been collecting data for like the last 14 years nationwide. We have 11 categories for you guys to filter through, whether you're looking for motivated sellers or one of our categories is cash buyers. So you guys will be able to see all the cash bought records in a given market. And then we have a very comprehensive filtering system. So just like Alex says, you guys will be able to essentially apply your own filters to find very motivated buyers and real buyers, not just a person buying a property in cash for personal reasons, but a person doing it for investment reasons. So thanks for having me, guys. And I guess we can just jump right to it.
Let's get right into it, man. And what I love about this is like super chill webinar, right? I mean, I haven't shaved for a few days. I'm sitting here and you know you're here and you got like a whiteboard behind you with all these words on it and all this kind of stuff. So this is going to be really fun.
So this is our product. When you guys first log in, it's your playground's all over the United States. You can search county, a city, you can search a zip code. Actually, you can search up to 5 zip codes. If you're driving for dollars, you can type in a specific property, and we're going to pull the records for you on that. But let me just show you what happens when we search an area. Now, I'm from Southern California, but let's take you over to Maricopa County, Arizona, just so you can see what happens. So when you search a county, in this case, or a city, we're going to zoom in on that area. And then right above the map, you're going to see 8 of our 11 categories. So essentially, you can filter through any of these results. So you can go through all the MLS records that we have access to, and we're tied in directly to about 700 MLS boards nationwide. So not only are you able to see what the agents are able to see, but when you click on these properties, you'll have access to photos and the agent's description. And some of you guys know that the county's descriptions are sometimes not always correct, right? Sometimes an agent will go in there and they realize, hey, there's actually a 3rd bedroom in here instead of 2. But our system will give you photos, interior and exterior. So just like Alex says, you'll be able to say, okay, well, this property is currently listed, looks like it was recently rehabbed. I can go to the MLS details and see what it's currently listed for. And I can go to the transaction history and see who was the person that bought it. In this case, it was Leslie Burbank that bought that property recently. And if it hasn't been sold just yet, in this case, it's a property that's currently active, it's going to give us the current owner's name. In this case, it's still Lisa. She owns a living trust. And we can see that she actually lives in California. She's actually down the street from where I'm at.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah. So, but she's starting to buy up properties in Arizona. So she's starting to see the market grow out there. So again, guys, in literally just the click, we have access to the MLS records just like an agent does, but we tie in 11 other categories. So we have other sources of data that we're showing you on this one page. So this section right here is essentially what a realtor is going to see and only see. List price, listing date, description, and the photos. What an agent doesn't have access to, well, I mean, they could, they just have to go to their website, but county records. So now we have county records, we have mortgage data, and we have transaction history. So just like Alex says, instantaneously we can see who the buyers are, or we can run MLS comps, right? So if you're in a non-disclosure state, I saw someone in the chat box say, hey, you know what if you're in a non-disclosure state? You're absolutely right. You don't get proper sale records in a non-disclosure state. So unlike the MLS is not governed by the county or by the state. It's actually governed by realtors. So you're able to do things like go to Maricopa County, find me an MLS listing that sold, and you can put the listing amount or the listing date. So show me the ones that sold, in the last 90 days. And now we isolated 10,000 results out of 250,000 results that we have. And again, we can click on those properties. We can see what it listed for and what it actually sold for. We have the photos. And sometimes you can see that it hasn't even been recorded at the county office yet. See, so right now it's saying that it's sold, and this is just recently, but that amount wasn't even recorded in the county level yet. So our system has 11 categories for you guys to go through, including the MLS, pre-foreclosures, auctions, and so forth, vacant properties. But as we were talking about earlier, as Alex was mentioning, cash buyers.
Yeah, let's start with that. Let's start with the first hack that I was talking about, right? Going into an area and looking at cash buyer data as a whole, so then we can figure out, where's the finger on the pulse of this? Where's the hot zip code? So we're pulling all the data as a whole, and then we can go back and figure out where the hot zip codes are and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So we're getting an overall pull.
Exactly. And so what you want to do here is when you search an area, all you have to do is click on the cash buyers category, and it's going to show you all of our unfiltered results. So these are all the cash buyer records from today all the way until we started collecting in this area. And just like Alex says, we list 10 per page, but you want to do some strategic approaching, right? So you can click on this button right here, and it's going to give you the spreadsheet format. So now I can isolate any category I like. So I can isolate by zip code. And now it's going to show me all the zip codes in chronological order. So now I can go to each individual page, or I can export the entire list, and that Excel sheet's going to do the same thing. It's going to show me how many buyers are in one zip code, how many buyers are in another zip code. And so now I'm able to isolate which market is more buyer friendly than the other market. And we also have the characteristics estimated.
So you could also download this, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You can download this, and then you can easily sift and sort and find out which zip codes have the highest activity.
Correct. And you can filter too. Remember, we can go to the filter and we can do things like show me a buyer or within the last year. So they bought it last year, this date. So here are my buyers within the last 12 months. And if we want individual buyers, we can apply that filter. And again, we went from 250,000 down to 171 within the last year that are individual buyers. And again, we can go to the spreadsheet view and isolate zip codes, and we're going to be able to see property characteristics. And lastly, again, you can click on that property, and we're going to show you the cash sale information. So you're now able to see what they bought it for, when they bought it, who the buyer is. In this case, it's an individual, and where they're located. So this guy's actually in Alaska buying up properties in Arizona. So this might be a summer nest when it's really, really cold up there. And again, you can click on the property and see the property photos to see the interior, exterior, and why he wanted to buy this property in cash, or what his plans are. And then again, you have previous owners. So you can see who owned it before Mr. Harrod, how long that previously owner had the property for. So it looks like Leonard owned it for personal reasons. He didn't own it to invest. Bought it back in 2002 and finally decided to let it go, 16 years later. But as Alex says, you're going to be able to go to the transaction history and see someone that bought it, 6 months ago and then decided to flip it 6 months later. And there again, county records doesn't show that person as the current owner, but our records is able to show you who that individual was.
Right. So for that first hack, let's go in and let's isolate an entire county. Now, Maricopa is a huge county. So somebody in the chat box, name a county, and I'll randomly pick that county, and we'll have some fun. So let's see. Here they come. Here they all come. Oh my goodness. All right. So now, as these are all coming in, okay. What I want. Obviously, we have zero idea of what what these are all coming in at. So I'm going to ask Burton to pick a number from 1 to 100, and no, and then we'll see what county that ends up at.
From 1 to 100. So let's go with 73.
73. Oh man. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. We're gonna kind of do this in an estimating fashion. Okay, that looks about 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73. Looks like Denton. Now that's Texas, right?
Denton County. Let's check it out. So Denton County.
Wow, somebody put their county in like 50 times. Now, is Denton a non-disclosure state?
Yes, it is. Texas is a non-disclosure
state. Is that going to be difficult for what we're trying to do? Actually, it's not, because for this first hack, okay, let's stick with this for the first hack. Just pick the county as a whole, and now we're going to figure out which one of these are cash transactions for the area as a whole, and then we're going to be able to identify the zip codes, because we can just copy everything and then download it, and then we have a spreadsheet we can examine, right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the first thing I want to mention with non-disclosure states, there's 14 states. Texas is one of them. But one thing about non-disclosure states, for those of you that don't know, is that the public, the county recordings office, they won't give you the sell amount. So running comps in non-disclosure states has been a biggest challenge. They just won't give you what the exact sell amount is. So what most companies do, including us, is we have to go kind of through the back door. And what we do is we have to get that information from a title company or a mortgage company. So when you're in a non-disclosure state and you're using our platform, most of the times when you see a property, let me just randomly click on one here. Let me see if I can find one with a sell amount here. Yeah, so you're going to get a lot of NA for sell amounts, but let me see if we can get one. Here's one right here. So be careful in a non-disclosure state, because when you see a sell amount, go to property details, and you'll be able to see what the sell amount, when it was recorded, and how we got the sell amount and where we got it from. So when we usually get it from a title company, it becomes a little iffy, but it would still work in a sense, because we still know the cash spot records. We may not know the exact amount that the purchase was, but we do know that the transaction was a cash transaction. So in Denton County, you still have access to cash buyers, and you can do the same thing, narrow it down by zip code.
Yes.
However, we have access to MLS, and you can see there's a lot. So we can do the same thing we did earlier, which is go to the filter.
Okay, so now with MLS data, do we get the prices now?
Yes, you do. So we can go to
that
MLS.
Overcomes the disclosure state problem.
Absolutely. And remember, they don't share data. So we can go to the MLS filter, show me all the sold listings in the last, let's say, 8 months or so, or let's do the beginning of the year. They were not rental listings. Or again, we can put rental listings, yeah, because that's going to show you a person that's using a property for cash flow. So even just using the MLS to know, okay, well, which people are renting out the property, that's a key indicator that's probably 9 out of 10 times an investor using a property for cash flow, right? So even if you're wholesaling a property, they might still be interested in it, because if it's in an area that's renting pretty well, you got yourself a prime candidate, simply because you know which ones are rental properties, right? So in this case, we're going to ignore the rental properties, but I'm just looking for all sold listings within the beginning of the new year. I have now 28,500 of them, and I'm able to click on them, again, see the photos, the details, and this is what Alex was talking about. In a non-disclosure state, you get to see, unfortunately, you don't get to see it on sale records, but we get to see what it was listed for and what it actually sold for
Yeah, that's killer, right? So now,
Absolutely.
can you download the MLS data side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you get your results, you can actually check them all off or check them all off, add it to a marketing list. So Denton County MLS sold, save that list, and then I can go over to the properties page, which is located on the left-hand side here. So just a second here while it's loading our list. All right, so all 28,500. I can go to my properties page where we store all of your results. You guys see I've done quite a bit here. Here's my Denton County. My results are going to populate. I can click on them and look at them one more time, or as Alex says, I can check them all off or individually and hit the export button. And now you have a CSV file, so you can take it to your different providers. Or if you guys want, we do have a skip tracing feature, so we can just instantly take that list you just built and go get you the phone numbers and emails. Or if you don't want to skip trace with us because you don't call or anything, just want to send postcards, we have a campaign section.
Yeah.
So the campaign section does postcards, or if you did skip trace, it does postcards, RVMs or ringless voicemails, as well as emails. So yeah, you can export, definitely. Export raw data or export with phone numbers, or just build the list and just get the phone numbers and start marketing to them right away.
Yeah. So I recommend people use reiskiptrace.com. I think their data is excellent and very reasonable on pricing and things like that. So, I mean, you can use Propstream if you want, but reiskiptrace.com is what I recommend for skips. All right. So that's one way around the disclosure state, right? When we're going into trying to find cash buyer data as a whole. Let's go back, and I'm going to look here again. Let's look at, let's see here. Let's look at a lot of Texas people on here. What y'all doing? Man, more Texas people. Wow. All my exes live in Texas. All right. So let's do, all right. Somebody just popped up and said, let's see here. Yeah, how about Delaware? So what county in Delaware? What are the counties in Delaware? Let's see. Newcastle. Okay. So let's do but we need an address actually, okay? Because the second hack is to try to find individual properties that sold around an address. So whoever put that in there, you need to give me an address in Newcastle.
Actually, I think what might help is we can let's
just pick an individual. Yeah.
Let's go to an MLS property. We'll just pick one. And what you're referring to is going to our comparables and nearby listings.
There you go.
Yep. And now we can see all the cash buyers around this property in 1 mile radius.
Okay, there we go. Cool. Now, here's where I have figured out how to hack into this and make it a little easier, right? Because it looks a little spotty, with all the green dots on it and stuff like that, right? So what I do in this situation, okay, is let's say go to our subject property, and what year was it built in?
1950.
Okay, so what I would do is I would take the year built and I would do 1950 to 1965. Go ahead and put that in there. Okay. Now, let's look at the sale date. Let's do within a year.
Within a year? Okay. So last year, July 25th. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Now, so we've got year built. We've got the sale date range on it as well. And now it's not as overwhelming. Now, interestingly enough, though, if we zoom in on this map, there's not a lot of properties that are right around that one. I mean, they are a mile away, I think it's not even half mile, which is interesting.
Community, maybe?
Oh, see, that's why.
It's probability here. Let's choose another one here. Let's see here. Oh, this one looks pretty nice. Similar thing, cash buyers. Oh, actually, let me show you something too, because I think this is important. I forgot to mention it. So when you're in
go ahead.
Nearby listings, we do have county recorded comps. And here's the cool thing about it, because you get to run your own comps. So in the county recorded comps, in this case, there are 7 comps that are similar within a half-mile radius. You're going to see green ones. Green ones are cash bought properties. So even though it fits the characteristics of a comp, the value is most likely not going to be the same value. So we're going to help you isolate that so you can click on them, and then you're going to be able to see the details of that buyer. So sometimes when you're running comps, you don't want to use the green ones because they're bad for, obviously, running comps, but it's good in a sense that you now know who that buyer was. So I know that this person bought this lot for $486, and it's John Dilks and where he's located at. So wanted just to isolate that because you might be in an area where you're going to the comp section and you see a lot of green. Again, it may be bad for running comps, but it's a good sign because those green ones would be your buyers. But again, to Alex's point, we can go to buyers, go within the last year, play with the.
Now we're looking at a big expensive house. We're looking at new construction at this point because that's built in 2019.
Do you want to filter by property characteristics? We can do a year built in this case. So 19.
Let's look at like some wholesale stuff, like from 1950 to 1965.
Cool. So these are all the MLS listings on properties that are 1950 to 1965, and let's check this one out right here. So this seems like it might have been a flip. We can see transaction history. So yeah, and she bought it for $130. 2 years later, she's flipping it for $279. So
okay,
comparables in nearby listings, and then we can also look at the cash buyers around her neighborhood. And as you mentioned, go back a year. And then we can apply bedroom.
And then make sure the year built is the same. So we're looking at the same thing. And I like to do half a mile to start. The closer to the property, the better.
Perfect.
So you just put in a 0.5 there.
Absolutely. So here you have your results.
All right, cool. So let's look at, what do we got? 1 and 2 over there?
Yep, we got 1. I clicked on the first one, clicked on the... Oh, you know what? We might have a slight bug on the minimum part because it's giving me, it's not capping it out. So we'll ignore that bug, but let's go find another one. Here's a 1954 here. All right, so these are the 2. Here's
okay.
This one was the 1968 property. So now we.
So here's the thing too. So if we're looking for the lowest sale properties, right, then we would simply just go back to that map that you were talking about and then sort for the lowest price, right?
This one right here. Yeah, we can do this and we can see all the comps in low.
So go ahead and click that so we can sort for the lowest price property.
All right, so these were the comps and I just clicked on there. So these were the comps. So this is the lowest cash comp.
Okay, there you go. So that's the lowest cash comp, but look at the lowest one too. Those are interesting to look at too.
So we can click on the details there. And then there we go. So we should have that property there. So we now know who owns it. So looks like it's a family LLC. And then we have the information here. So it was previously owned by a bank, and it looks like they might have short sold this property because it's a special warranty deed. So definitely walked in there and got a deal from the bank directly.
Oh, cool. So there you go. So that is a really good or low comp. So like if you were making offers in an area, you would say, yeah, I see this property over on Court Avenue. It actually sold for $67,000. You said your property needed a little bit of work, correct? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, what were you looking for? And then, so now you're making an offer without making an offer.
Absolutely. And then, there is this one way of finding buyers that I can assure everyone that you're not going to find in any other platform. Would it be okay to share that with your audience?
Yes. So we went over looking at the cash buyers as a whole, where we can download that data, take it out and analyze it. Number 2, on finding individual cash buyer. And then number 3 is going to be finding the most expensive property and trying to find who bought that property beforehand. That's like the hidden cash buyer hack, if you will, right? So let's do that, and then we'll do the other one that you're talking about.
Absolutely. So we're still in Newcastle, so I clicked on all the cash buyers. Let's just put a time frame so we don't go back too far. So we'll do buyers within the last year. And then again, I'm going to.
So now when you do this and let's say you do it past a year, is it going to bring up a property that's been sold to somebody else as a cash buyer transaction?
Yes. Yeah. So it's just going to show you the records from 4 years ago, even though it may be under new ownership today. So you'll still be able to see who the records were 4 years ago, even though it's under. So let's say I bought a property in cash 4 years ago, but you own it now. If I go to the system and say, show me cash buyers 4 years ago, that record will show up. So in the cash buyers tab, it will say my name, but under the property details tab, it will say your name. So clearly the property's under your name, but the cash sell tab shows you who I am and my information.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So drill down on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so here's all the cash buyers. Again, all I did was click on this tab right here to get that spreadsheet view. And now we can click on sell amount. And what that will do is isolate lowest to highest, or click it again. Now we can isolate highest to lowest. And then we can click on the property and we can go to the transaction history and see who the previous buyer was. So it looks like it's a property we weren't able to get transaction history on, but we do see previous transaction records. This is a corporation and it looks like they're, oh, okay. It's the same corporation that's bought several different units.
Yeah, it looks like a big developer or something.
Yeah, we'll stay. I mean, great though, because if you have a unit, if you're doing commercial building, they might be an I. So let's go to page, all right, let's go to page 5 here. So here okay, so here we just regular properties. So we can click on those properties. Again, cash sell. We know who the buyer was. We know the buyer's address, what their buying power is, and when they bought the property. And then now we can go to transaction history and see if it's been transferred over to anybody else. But that's essentially what Alex is referring to. You instantaneously can search an area, go to the spreadsheet tab, and then isolate highest to lowest in terms of sell amount.
Okay. So, all right. So that is that the hack that you were talking about, or is that what I was?
The hack that I'm going to talk about is going to actually use CashBot records and MLS listings. So I'm going to show people how to become a realtor and find investors that have bought a property and are flipping it on the MLS.
Okay, cool.
Let's go ahead and do that. All right, I'm going to show you guys. And I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to use Los Angeles just as an example because I like to get a lot of records. So what I'm about to show you guys, you're not going to see in any other platform, period, unless they imitate us. Because, I mean, I've used a lot of platform, and I've yet to see it right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the CashBot records. And actually, let me search LA County. Let me get as many results as I can, because I'm going to probably use this list later on. So what I normally do is I do what we were just showing you guys, go through the CashBot records. So in LA County, there's 139. But remember, you have access to the MLS. All you have to do is layer the two on top of each other. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the filter and I'm going to look for all the non-owner occupied cash buyers, because that's usually an investor. Investor will buy the property, never live in it. They'll just buy the property, rehab it, and then flip it. So we need to put that in the filter. So owner occupied is no. The cash or the category I want to filter is cash buyers. And then, as I was talking to Alex earlier, you get to specify a time frame, and that's all we need to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify a window, and that window is August 1st of last year to December of that same year. So what I'm pretty much saying is, show me a cash buyer, go through the cash buyer records, but just show me the ones that bought it between August and December. So they bought it in cash within those 4 months. And then the idea is after they bought it, they repaired it, and then they rehabbed it, and then they flipped it on the market, right? That's what a buyer will do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, go through the MLS records now and show me the ones that flipped it on or after the new year. And it's either active right now, pending, or sold, right? So again, what I'm saying is show me the ones that bought it between August and December, and then they rehabbed it, and then they flipped it after the new year, right? Because that's what they're going to do. So when I hit apply, I have 63 solid investors. How do I know that they're solid? I'll show you guys. You click on the property, you get to see the cash sale tab. So I get to see what they bought it for, $150,000, when they bought it, who the buyer is, where the buyer is located, in this case, Sherman Oaks. Then I can go to the MLS details and see what she's flipping it for. See that? 150 she bought
Yes.
it for. I have my buyer's name and my buyer's information. I have my buyer's characteristics. I have the photo showing the rehab that she just did on the property. And now I know why she's flipping it for $279,000. All I did was do what Alex was showing you guys, is going through CashBot records, but I just layered the MLS data with it because, again, we have nationwide MLS listings. You could have done the same thing with a real estate agent. You just had to get the records and call an agent and say, hey, can you take these thousands of records and go through your MLS database and show me the ones that sold it after they bought it? How long do you think that would have taken them to get back to? I just showed you guys how to do it in a matter of a few clicks. So again, I'm gonna repeat that process. They bought it before they listed it. So they bought it between August and December, and then they listed it after that time frame. And I have my 63. And guess what, guys? Nationwide data. So I can go to Maricopa County and find my buyers using that same filter. And so here on my right side, you're gonna see the same buyers that did the same criteria between August and December, and then listed it after New Year. So this is something that you're not going to see in any other platform. Please make sure you guys write that down. But ultimately, once you do that filter, again, non-owner occupied, MLS.
Are you there, Bird?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were you kind of cut in a little bit, but
oh, no worries. So yeah, again, that filter works anywhere.
I was going to ask you if you could use it on one of my properties that I recently got. And yes, Elizabeth said this is great for virtual wholesale transactions. It absolutely is, 100%.
Absolutely. And again, that filter applies anywhere. Again, all I did was non-owner occupied, cash buyer, and you can do any time frame you want. Just remember, they bought it before they listed it. So if I did, let's say they bought it between January of this year and March of this year, then I want to make sure they listed it in April or after. So I'll do April 1st, active, sold, or pending. And then I'll have my buyers that bought a property between January and March of this year, and then they listed it after April, the month later or sometime after it. So again, I see what they bought it for, and I see what they're going to be listing it for. So very powerful feature for you guys.
That's huge right there. Okay, so let's look at a Virginia Beach property. Okay, I'm going to give you the address. It's 401 Loyalist Court, 401 Loyalist Court, Virginia Beach.
There we go. Details.
And I want you to do exactly what you did before on the other property. So let's say I'm like, okay, I want to see who all my potential buyers are in this situation.
Go to comparables nearby listings, and I have two options. I can go to comps and just make sure and look for any green ones. So the green ones are my buyers. So I can click on that, go to the details. And so just going through county records, just like anybody else would, we help you by showing you the ones that are cash bought. So I now know my cash buyer. Here's Ruth. The Rental Rocks is the owner of this property. So they bought it in.
Right.
If not the green ones, you then can go to our cash buyer section.
Okay. So first things, guys, when you're watching, if you do that and go to comparables and nearby listings, you look for the green entries, and that's how you know it was a cash transaction.
Correct. So
that doesn't mean that it has to be even the last transaction was cash. It means somewhere along the line there was a cash transaction, correct?
Correct. And it'll tell you the sale date here. In this case, this one was in May. And again, if we click on that, it's going to show us that property's characteristics and who that buyer was. So you'll be able to see the cash sale tab. So Joel here bought the property for $192 back in May of this year. And it even shows you that it was listed. So he bought it through an agent. So it was listed for $199, and then Joel came in and bought it in cash for whatever his reasons are. He might cash flow it, or there is some margin here. So he might end up adding something to it and then flipping it a month or two later. Right, and so that's here. Again, that's comps using the green markers. Those are the cash bought records. And then the other category you have is the cash buyer records. And again, we can isolate sell amount, lowest to highest, highest to lowest, property characteristics, and you have our filtering system in the left-hand side over here.
Okay. So, so the whole layering in with the MLS thing, like you did before, is that an individual thing that you look at?
Well,
for each one?
that search only applies to when you're searching a given area. It won't apply in the comparables and nearby listings because we don't have that comprehensive filter. So in the specific property section, the best that we can give you is the cash buyers and then the comps and MLS. I mean, technically, we can see if there's a cash buyer address that's also in the MLS, or vice versa. We can look for all sold MLS and see if any of them were cash bought at one point. But if I was in your area, what I would do is I would search the city. So I would actually just search Virginia Beach, VA.
So you would move away entirely from the property and then move over to
the market.
area?
I can't answer to your market, but I've always looked at it this way. Depending on the margin, like I've had buyers that were not willing to go from north part of the city to the south part of the city, right?
Yeah.
But depending on the margin that I'm going to give them, if it's a $200,000 profit, you're going to tell me you're not going to take that drive?
Right.
So again, how you look at it, perfectly fine. I've just had that mentality that, hey, if the numbers are right, best believe I would do it. If you're telling me, you know, I live in Southern California, but if you say, hey, Burton, I have a deal in Las Vegas, which is 4 hours away. If you buy that property, we can get it. We can flip it for $150,000. Well, guess what? I'll see you in Vegas in 4 hours. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on the margin. If you say, hey, I have a property 4 hours from here and the margin's going to only be, you know, our assignment fee is only going to be $5,000 on it. Sorry, let's look at something else at that point. So what I would do in your area is I would search the property, look at the cash buyers within that 1 mile vicinity. And those are my first targets. Those are the first people I'm going to send postcards to because they're already in that 1 mile radius. So I don't ignore them. I definitely focus on them. But I always want to build my buyers, right? So I don't plan on selling one property in Virginia Beach. I plan on continuously doing it. So what I always do is I search the area and I always run that filter that I was telling you is non-owner occupied cash buyers either within the last year, or I always put a time frame, usually within the last 6 months. And I always, depending on the month I'm in, but I always like to do like a 3-month period. So like September 1st to December 1st or January to the end of March. But all I'm doing is just find me the cash records within that time frame and then just make sure that after they bought it in cash, they listed it on the MLS through an agent or some sort of an agent or broker. And so as long as I specify that they bought it before they listed it, I'm now able to find those 4 buyers that bought a property between September and December and then flipped it on the market in the new year and where they're at in the map, right? So now I get to click on their property, again, see what they bought it for, and then see what they're currently listing it for. So not to say that this guy would want to buy a property near the beach, but again, if the margins are right and it's within his cash buying power, so if the contract I have that's right next to a beach is $300,000, he might be willing to take that drive and buy that property because, hey, it's beachfront property. After you buy it, you might be able to list it for a lot higher. So that's just my perspective on it. Anytime I'm finding buyers, I like to start off by searching the address and then going around the 1 mile radius.
Yeah.
But let's say I'm in a market and I don't know, or let's say we're in Fulton, Georgia, because someone brought that up, right? So I'm in Fulton, Georgia. I don't have any contracts yet, right? And so what I can do if I go to Fulton, Georgia, so here's a perfect example. So I don't have any contracts right now, right? I haven't called any motivated sellers. I don't know any right now. But what I can do is do that same thing. I can find a cash buyer within the last year or use that strategy I was showing you. So let's just find buyers within the last year that are individuals. Well, now I have my buyers list and I can find all my single family buyers. So instantaneously, I have 1,077 potential buyers I can now do business with, and I see their property characteristics that they bought. So whether you're starting in our system trying to build motivated sellers and then finding buyers, perfect. Or in my case, if I don't have any motivated sellers yet, I can find the buyers first and then look at their details and then go find the properties that essentially match their categories, and I get to see their buying power. So Mr. David over here has about $800,000 readily available if the deal is just right. So.
Right. Definitely makes sense. So some people are actually asking about the vacant property feature. I mean, I think we've covered cash buyers here and the different ways to look at it when it comes to going through those different hacks to finding cash buyers, whether it's as a whole, as an individual property, and then looking at the rehabs and then finding the individual flipper that bought that property, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right here at our fingertips, and we can easily, number one, reach out to the person. We can just do like a reverse Google search to try to find their number if they're a reputable company, or we can contact the homeowners. Sorry, not the homeowners. We can contact the realtor who was the buyer's agent for that particular buyer, and I'm sure they'll put us in touch with them, because
Absolutely.
that realtor is going to want another property to sell.
And to your point, that one actually just showed you was a perfect example. It was listed, and then David over here bought the property. So we know David's the buyer, but we go to MLS details. We now know who the agent is, and we have their email and their phone number as well. So great bring up there.
So somebody is asking if training comes with the software.
Well, no, we don't do training. I mean, that's Alex's job. Alex is the guy guys to find the great leads. We're just the data people. I mean, we have all sorts of users, whether you're a contractor or you're an agent looking for off-market properties to list, or you're a wholesaler trying to find motivated sellers, or I mean, what other you're a lender looking for people with like a 10% interest rate. We just do data, so we don't provide any like one-off trainings, but we're always here to help. Like if
oh, for sure. And I mean, you guys have been absolutely amazing about this type of stuff. Like I said, for anybody that's interested in getting Propstream in your business, I said I was going to do a special to where I will give you a video on how to best use it to find some motivated sellers with it, right? So that some really good motivated sellers with it. So for anybody that signs up with it tonight, that is what I'm going to do. I can also do a video as well on cash buyers, like I'm talking about here. But you've got to sign up for it tonight, and sign up for it using the page. And I'm going to post that link here. But go ahead, Burton, and talk about the vacant side of it. People are asking about vacants.
Yeah, great question. And actually, this is an insider tip for you guys. Vacant listings. Okay, so this is the most challenging list type there is in our industry. Let me explain why. 9 out of 10 data providers, and this includes us, when we get vacant listings to give to you guys, the source is the United States Postal Service. That's the first thing you need to know, is that anytime you see a vacant listings, the source is United States Postal Service. Why am I telling you that? Because your definition of vacant is not their definition of vacant, right?
Oh, that's powerful right there.
An investor's definition of vacant is an abandoned property. It's physically distressed. The roof is caving in. Windows are boarded up. Grass is tall. That's our definition of vacant, right? What's the United States Postal Service's definition of vacant? A property not answering their mail for 3 weeks. That's it. So whether it's a new property, an old property, a person's been living there for 5 weeks, or a person's been living there for 10 years, if that person is not answering that mail for 3 weeks or more, it's on the vacant list. And so why is it a challenge? I'm going to show you guys right now. So when I search, let's say Fulton County, Georgia, and I click on vacant, if I don't filter it, look at the results on the right-hand side. There's a property that recently sold, and it's on this list. Why? And I'll explain why. Let's say Alex sells me his house. I bought Alex's house. But Alex forgets to forward his mail. Alex, damn you. No, but Alex forgets to forward his mail, right? He sells me this house. He gets excited. He forgets to forward his mail, or maybe he's delayed a little bit. But because he forgot to forward his mail is still going to my address. And for 3 weeks, or for the next 3 weeks, if that doesn't change, my address is now on the vacant listing, right? So if you guys aren't paying attention to the last sale date, You're going to be sending me postcards. You're going to be calling me. You're going to be skip tracing me. You're going to be knocking on my house, my new house. I'm just going to slam the door on you and hang up on you every single time. Why? I just bought a house and I'm not going to sell you a house I just bought 3 weeks ago. Simple as that. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Vacant listings, it's not your definition. It's the post office's definition. So how do you effectively filter vacant listings? Well, in our system, I don't know about everybody else, I would just go to the filter, ownership info, and add a years of ownership. For example, 5 years minimum. So now I have 5,300 results instead of 1,400 results. And you guys can see that this property, the first one, was sold 5 years ago. So now let's think about that, okay? Someone bought a house 5 years ago and they've been living there for 5 years. And then all of a sudden, they're not answering their mail anymore. That's a lead right there, guys, because we can't answer why. We don't know why they're all of a sudden not answering their mail anymore. And that's what makes it a lead. If you can't answer the reason why they're not answering their mail, boom, you're on the right track. Then you can start adding more layers. How
we're lagging a little bit.
Can you see me a little bit better?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're lagging a little bit, but I don't think too terribly. I think go ahead and wave.
Yeah, so years of ownership is the most important factor there. And then with our filtering, we can start adding layers like, hey, not only have they owned the property for 5 years and they're not answering their mail.
This is where it gets pretty cool.
But there's a tax lien against the property.
Ooh, there's a lien against the property. Now, guys, this isn't the same thing as like a tax delinquent property, but this is if the county actually filed a lien for tax delinquency against the property. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but this is like a property that's seriously delinquent.
Absolutely. So they're not answering their mail. They've lived there for 5 years, and there's also a lien against the property. Or if it's not a lien, so if we take that off, we can check off perhaps a bankruptcy. So perhaps not only have they not answered their mail, but here are 12 properties that 5 years of ownership or more, filed for bankruptcy, and they're not answering their mail. Talk about motivation, right? Because that's the conversation we're going to have is, hey, how can I help you? Seems as there's no income. Or maybe we don't mention the fact that we know that they're in bankruptcy, but we keep it in the back of our head because that's the motivation, right? Maybe throughout our conversation with them, they let us know about their financial hardship, even though we know, but they let us know. And again, that's why we isolate them, because these are 12 highly motivated versus the other, in this case, 14,000 that we have. So vacant listing, great question. Whoever brought that up, make sure you guys give that person a pat on the back, because that was some insider tip, not just for our platform, but for any platform that has vacant listings. If they have a filtering system, make sure to filter the years of ownership or last sell date. If not, just make sure you guys are paying attention to the last sell date or transaction history. Was there any other questions?
Awesome. Awesome. So that's the vacant side of it, plus the liens there too, which is absolutely amazing. Adrian Alvarez said, let's see, what did he say? We just signed up today, right? I don't know why you're saying sorry, but yeah, he signed up today, and she laugh. Yeah. Adrian. I don't think I said she. Okay, yeah, Burton put that link in there. Yeah, guy, I'm a she, not a he. Okay, cool. I got it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and actually, regarding that link, please don't sign up directly to our website. Whatever you do, don't go directly to us. Click on Alex's link that I put in the chat box, because you're going to get that trial period and you're going to get a discounted price. So
right. Let
me just emphasize that. Do not go through our website.
Plus you get the video training that I'm talking about too when it comes to the motivated sellers, as well as I'll do the video on the cash buyer hacks. So, and yes, this is definitely a lot better than REWW, which is very, very, very expensive. So
then, regarding costs, Alex got you guys a discounted price. So again, don't go on our website, you'll pay full price. But with Alex's sign up link, you guys will get a 7-day trial period. And it's $97 a month for unlimited searches. So you can actually search as many properties as you like, as your heart desires.
Which
but we do give you 10,000 properties to export. So again, you can do unlimited searches. You can qualify your leads before you start saving them. When you start saving them, you get 10,000 every month. So obviously, if you subscribe with us for 2 months, that's 20,000 potential leads that you can pull up from our system. And it's
Yeah, that's amazing.
There's
I
no
mean, and you can use these for mailers. You can use it for skip tracing to do cold calling. You can use it for pre-foreclosure. I mean, pre-foreclosure alone is a huge thing. Show them how you can use it for pre-foreclosure.
Oh, absolutely.
And here's the other thing too, guys. Okay, and this is huge. A lot of these counties, a lot of this information has current mortgage data. Okay, so what that means is when you might have pulled this in ListSource or something else based on an original mortgage, and what happened if they refied, right? You don't know that if you're using ListSource, but with this, you can see that if they potentially refied, and if they did, now they no longer have equity. That's a problem, right? So if they no longer have equity, we don't want to be mailing them. So we save money along with it right there. I mean, think about it. If you mailed 300 people, at say 30 or 40 cents, that's what, $120? I mean, right there, you're already losing money by going with by not going with this because of the updated mortgage data. And some other cool stuff here is they also have so if you had a list that you pulled previously, it will actually show you, if you go back to the list that you saved, what recent ones just sold, or if there was some kind of transfer or something in there as well, which is absolutely amazing too. So there's so many things you can do. And not everything that we can show you on this webinar, but yeah, look at that right now at what Burton's showing you. I mean, these are new recordings, new transfers, all from a previous mailing list that he pulled up.
Yeah.
And plus, when you pull a list,
30,000 results saved, it's telling me, hey, 168 of your results are in auction right now. So now, rather than going through all these different lists, here they are. So we, as Alex says, we effectively monitor. So it's not just build the list and I don't know what's happening the next day or the next day. We're constantly updating your information and letting you know what's going on.
Yeah, which is absolutely amazing.
So then, to the pre-foreclosure.
What were you showing us? Pre-foreclosure.
Los Angeles County. We in our state have auctions. So what I can do here is click on pre-foreclosures, or I could just go to the filter, look for an owner-occupied property. I want to make sure the owner's there. So if I knock on the door, that they're most likely going to be there. They don't own a second property. I want it off market. And in this case, I want to give myself about 3 weeks. So I want to make sure the auction is in August 15th or after. So here are my 67 results. And then to what Alex was saying, I can now click on the property, and then we have the mortgage information. You guys are probably wondering, well, how do you guys get that mortgage information? It's because we go above and beyond. What we do is we do get the recorded amount from the county. So we know what the county recorded the sale. The sale of this property back in 2015 was $535. But what most people don't know is that there was actually a down payment. And you can see that this is actually the mortgage that was used. So it was a huge down payment. Mortgage of $417 was actually used. Here's when it was recorded. Here's that interest rate. And here's the term. So it's a 30-year term. It's $417,000 with a 3.18%. We do the reverse calculation and we give you the mortgage balance. But wait, why is it much higher than 417? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if I go to the mortgage information, we can see that this owner has been pulling a lot of activity. So when they bought the property, right, back in 2015, they bought the property. Here's the recorded amount, 417. But then a year later, it looks like they might have pulled out some equity on that property. So we have here a new loan amount. And when we calculate the balances together, we now get to see where they're at, plus or minus. But here's the thing, again, guys, calculation. What we don't know are the uncontrollable factors. Is she making extra payments every other month? Is she not making payments every other month? So our mortgage balance is based on the idea that if she's making the minimum payments, this is where she's going to be at. So don't assume that this is 100% accurate. Nothing can be 100% accurate, but it's going to take the variables that we know and we've captured, just like you could if you had this information. I mean, you can get a piece of paper and technically do the calculation manually. We're just doing that for you. So instantaneously, I know where her balance is, plus or minus. I get to see what the potential comps are, and now it's going to calculate what the potential equity is. So in a matter of a few moments, I now know, okay, is this property even worth my next 3 weeks? Because they're going to go to auction in 3 weeks. Is there enough equity for us to wholesale it? Or if there's not enough equity, what other strategies can we come up with to help this homeowner from losing their home? And again, you have that property details. You can see their unpaid balance, their amount of default, and all that good stuff.
Very, very, very good.
So,
all right, guys, do you have any questions with regards to anything that we just covered? I mean, like I said, this is not a webinar to sell you something for $9.97 or $14.97 or $29.97, like, you know, like REWW or something like that. This is a very simple plan. I think it's like $97 a month or 99 or something like that. And you get 10,000 records a month that you can pull, which is like less than a penny a record, which is absolutely amazing. And the fact that it's dynamically updated and has current mortgage data and all that stuff makes it all the much better. All right, somebody's saying there are questions in the Q&A section.
Here we go.
There we go. How often is data pulled from the MLS? I am in Texas, so should I get my license to have MLS access in my area since it's a non-disclosure state? I have Propstream already. Are liens accurate to access like you want us to find with the focus group?
Well, we pull MLS data daily. So if there's something that's sent to us, it's going to get pushed in within 24 hours. The reason for the 24-hour delay is because they're just giving us an MLS listing, but that same property they're sending over to us might also have a pre-foreclosure record to it, or a bankruptcy record to it, or a lien record to it. So the 24-hour period is for us to take that listing and go through our other records and add anything else to it. That's why when you search a property, let me see if I can show you an example here. When you search a property and you click on it, and this is a perfect example. So this property has 3 separate records out there. There's a record for pre-foreclosure, there's a record of a lien, and there's a record of a bankruptcy detail. So that's like 3 different websites all on one page. So the turnaround is in 24 hours. Now, you mentioned that you were in Texas, so let's just randomly pull up, let's say Dallas, for example. The best way to know our recent update is that when you click on a category, in this case MLS, you'll see the update right here. So these are properties that were recorded yesterday in our system. So we're going to have today's this afternoon, and you should see that. So not every market's 24 hours. I mean, if we're in a more remote area, don't expect MLS listings every day, especially if the population is like 5,000 people. I mean, reality is how many people are listing in that area every day. So the thing with updates is it can happen every day if that source has something to provide us every day. If there's nothing that they have, then we have no updates in that given area. So I hope that answered your question.
Somebody says, does it note utility liens, all liens prior to auction or post-auction when some liens are removed? It does show some municipal liens. I've seen that. Liens prior to auction, I mean, it kind of depends on your county. Post-auction when some liens are removed. That's a good question. I don't know that.
All liens prior to auction, that's again based on the filter. So I can say, here, let's use this area. So I'm in Dallas, Texas. I want all liens that are not in pre-foreclosure yet. So that answers your question. And I want a utility lien of at least $1,000 or more, or $10,000 or more. So as long as you're filtering for that, in this case, you wanted properties with a utility lien that doesn't have an auction date yet, right? Or a utility lien that's not in pre-foreclosure. And here we go. I have 9 results. This one's a hot one, $14,000 in sanitation charges. And now I know their equity. I have the lien details. I have the comparables. I know who the owner of the property is. So the thing that's hard to understand is that everyone has a different angle, right? If you're a wholesaler, you need equity. If you know more than wholesaling, then you don't need to have equity. So when like in regards to that question, great one, can you find liens prior to auction? Absolutely. You just have to filter for it. So you have to tell the system, I want liens that are not in pre-foreclosure, or I want liens that are not on the market, or I want liens that recently failed on the market. I mean, sky's the limit. And that's where the filter comes into play, because these criteria all layer on top of one another. So that we'll leave that up to you guys. But
Yeah.
again, have the imagination, because if it's going to work, I mean, that's really the goal here. Is no one's just going to sell you the property, right? You got to come up with these situations that's going to get someone to consider, wanting to sell that property. If I had a property and there's no encumbrances on it, I'm not going to sell you my property. But if I own a property and I filed for bankruptcy, or I have a HOA lien against my property, well, I may not want to sell it right now, but those two things
That's something you want in your funnel for sure.
To think about selling a property or my property. And that's what you guys need to find. Is I always tell people, create a talking point or create a situation that you can talk upon, whether it's a bankruptcy, a pre-foreclosure, a person with a high lien, a person living in their property for 10 years or more. You just come up with these criterias that would get someone to even consider selling their home, and then you're on the right track.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. It's somebody's asking about expired listings.
That would be under failed. So
failed listing.
Let me show you how to effectively do that. So search an area, go to filter, MLS status, failed. I'm looking for failed listings starting the new year. And I want desperation, so I can start adding more things. I mean, you could just end it right there, but we can add desperation. So I want a property that failed after 4 months of being listed. Could you imagine being the homeowner and waiting 4 months just for it to expire?
Oh, yeah.
375 desperate homeowners that need help now. So, yeah, failed listings, expired listings, we do have.
Failed listings.
It's not called expired. In the world of MLS, they're considered failed. Just something that didn't sell while on the MLS, and that could be, again, an expired listing, someone violating the contract, or whatever other reasons.
Somebody wanted to know if you can search with multiple zip codes. Yeah, you just put it up in that search bar there, and you can do it that way.
Absolutely. Just separate them by commas, add a space. And 90210, Beverly Hills.
90210.
And you have your results here, guys.
All right, guys. Well, it is 7:15. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and post them. We're going to jump off here soon. But just to let you guys know as well, for those of you that sign up tonight for Propstream and you get that free trial and everything, I'm going to give you some training videos, a training video that I have on motivated sellers, and then a training video on those cash buyer hacks like I was talking about that you can use. So that way you can have them in your arsenal. So, and yeah, there's nothing to buy except to sign up for a Propstream account, which is something that you should have in your arsenal as a wholesaler, virtual wholesaler, whatever you want to call it. Asking about tax delinquent. So tax liens, like they actually filed a tax record.
We do have that here, actually.
Yes, but not where people are delinquent for a few years and it hasn't filed a lien against it yet.
No. Good question.
Right. Yeah, but it has to be a lien that's filed with the city.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if anything prior to that, we won't know unless the lien is actually recorded. So I guess I don't need to show you guys that. So
right there. And guys, here is the link again. If you sign up with that link, they're going to send me that info of everybody that signs up with that link, and I'll be able to get those videos in your possession. So do you guys have any other questions? Somebody said they just signed up. Perfect.
Yeah, and remember, let me end this with this, guys. We don't hide behind a velvet screen or anything. You go to the help tab. We have several videos. I'm going to send this recording over to Alex, so he'll be able to post it up however he wants to, so you guys can see it. And then, yeah, give us a call. You guys have questions. I'm sure you guys are. Call us or email us. If you're lucky, I answer the phone call, so you might end up speaking to me directly as well. So.
Some people are saying if they already signed up, I'm going to talk to some of the big wigs down there. to see what we can do about that, Sam. I appreciate it. Yes, you can find motivated sellers with this. Absolutely, 100%. Why don't you do that real quick? Just show them how you can go in and pull an area, say a zip code, and then pull equity and go that way with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to pull up an area, let's say Virginia Beach, and
Sure.
I'm going to look for, let's look for a tax lien. That's a perfect example. So an owner-occupied lien that's off market, because I want to make sure they haven't signed a contract with an agent. I'm going to make sure that it's also not in pre-foreclosure, because I want to beat you guys to the punch, right? Because you guys are waiting for that courthouse record. I'm going to try to find the owner before you guys get to that record, or before that record even exists. So off market, not in pre-foreclosure. It's individually owned for 7 years. This person's been there for a while. And now there's a tax lien of, let's say, $20,000 to $50,000. But we got to make sure there's profit in there for us. So we're going to put, let's say, a 50% equity amount. And so now that I do that, I should have my results on the right-hand side. So here
that is a massive tax lien.
So I have
There's
that.
2 people.
There you go. So these guys are obviously in trouble. Assuming their balance is low and this tax lien is reasonable, we could end up paying for both and getting them out of their situation and still have profit to flip that property. So motivation really is filtering. Obviously, the more encumbrances they have on their property, the worse it's going to get. The way that I've always looked at it is, your pre-foreclosures are like the highest distress owners. This is why pre-foreclosures have always been the most popular category when it comes to real estate investing. But you can build a situation where someone might be heading into pre-foreclosure, like these 2 examples, for example.
Catch them beforehand, yeah.
Exactly.
Pre-foreclosure.
If these guys don't pay off their liens, those liens could potentially cause a pre-foreclosure. And that's why I said earlier, I'm trying to get to them before you guys get to them. And the best way to do that is to build that situation where they're potentially going to head in that direction. And again, we have bankruptcies, we have divorce, and a bankruptcy would be a perfect example. Someone filing for bankruptcy means there's probably no more income coming into the property. And if there's no more income, well, who's going to make those mortgage payments? And you know what happens when you don't make mortgage payments, right? You go into
foreclosure. Yes.
Exactly. So guys, motivated sellers, absolutely. It's all about how you want to filter it, though. So we'll leave that up to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So guys, the link is below in the chat as well. And if you sign up through that link, you'll get some more training from me. And as well, you'll get Propstream, and you'll be able to do exactly everything what we just showed you here. Cash buyers is not a problem anymore. You should not be out there looking for cash buyers randomly in a Facebook group or something like that. You should be able to hone in on the real cash buyers that are right there in front of your face. They're easy to find because you can reverse search their address or just contact the agent that sold the property for them. And I mean, they're right there, and they pay the most. Stop settling for small assignment fees, get bigger assignment fees, because you can see who is actually paying, right? So who's the best to skip trace? That would be reiskiptrace.com. reiskiptrace.com for skip tracing. All right, guys, it's about 7:30. It's 7:21. I appreciate you, Burton, for being on with me.
Don't worry about it.
Go ahead. If you can send me the registration file so I can email people out as well that have been on.
Will do.
So they can check it out and all that stuff.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to call it a day. I'm going to cut it off. Thank you again, Alex, for having us. Last thing, guys, don't sign up through us directly. Click on that trial link, and then look out for that email. Alex will be sending you guys a recording pretty soon.
Very, very good. Thank you, Burton.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.